Hello everyone and welcome to Develop Your Academic CV. I'm Denise Pranke, a Walden Career Services Advisor. The mission of the Career Services team is to support students and alumni in developing workplace skills to thrive as professionals and social change agents in organizations and communities. To accomplish this mission, we deliver cutting-edge global career resources and services and promote applied learning as an essential component of proactive career management. So during this interactive session, I will differentiate a CV from a resume, explore the CV resources available on the Career Services website, discuss the main CV sections and formatting tips, and share ways to strengthen and customize your document. I will pause periodically throughout the session to address questions. Next, I would like to hear from you on where you are at in the process of creating your CV and what you're hoping to learn from today's session. Please use the question function on your GoToWebinar control panel to let me know where you are at in the process. So, for example, do you need to update and improve your current CV, create your first CV, or are you unsure of what a CV is? So let me know. Okay. So responses include, this is my first experience with a CV. So you want to start from the very beginning stages. It looks like a number of you are just starting to create your CV. So some of you are unsure of exactly what a CV is. And some said, I recently updated my CV on the Career Services website. So we will touch on that in upcoming slides. So for many of you, it appears this is your first attempt at creating a CV. So I will keep your comments in mind as we go through the presentation. So again, thank you for sharing. And so next, let's go over the difference between a CV and a resume. So a CV is a description of your education, experience, and accomplishments. It places more emphasis on your academic experience, professional development activities, and contributions than a resume. Also, a resume is typically 1 to 2 pages, whereas a CV can be longer in length, sometimes up to 5 to 8 pages, depending on your level of experience and professional accomplishments, such as presentations and publications. So why do you need a CV? A CV is the preferred document to use when applying for higher education teaching and leadership positions. Also research positions or conference proposals and consulting. So next, let's take a quick look at the CV resources on the Career Services website. The Career Services website could be accessed from your My Walden portal or by going directly to careercenter.waldenu.edu. Our doctoral resources and CV tools can be found on the horizontal navigation bar under the Resources and Resumes and CVs tabs. And sample CVs can be found in the Optimal Resume system. So next, we'll look more closely at these offerings. So under the Resources tab, you'll find the Doctoral Resources page with links to the Curriculum Vitae guide, sample CVs in the Optimal Resume system, the archived webinar series recordings, and networking sites for academics and researchers. So here's a closer look at the Curriculum Vitae guide, which offers step-by-step instructions on how to build or strengthen your CV sections. So we highly recommend referring to the CV guide after today's session to continue building or enhancing your document. And next, the optimal resume system, which can be accessed from the Career Services homepage, has over 400 sample resumes, including CVs, for you to look at in the Resume Builder module, highlighted in red here. The optimal resume system also includes modules to help you build cover letters, career portfolios, a website, and practice your interviewing skills as well. There are short video tutorials within the system to help you get started. We currently have over 14,000 students and alumni using the system. If you would like to use one of the sample resumes or CVs as a template to create your own professional looking document, you will need to set up a free account. When setting up your free account, be sure to use your Walden email address. If you're an alum and you no longer remember your Walden email address, send an email to customercare@support@mail.waldenu.edu for assistance to reset your Walden email address so you can access the optimal resume system. I also want to highlight our archive webinars, which can be accessed from the Career Services website by clicking on the blue Archive Webinar button or going to the doctoral resources. A few topics to highlight in the doctoral webinar series are alternative careers for your doctoral degree, strategies for getting a job in higher education, strategies for getting published, and transitioning into the academic world through professional associations and conferences. In the program-specific webinars, we have topics such as career opportunities in psychology and career opportunities in public health. So let me pause and see if we have any questions on the resources. So no, it doesn't appear that we have any questions yet. Okay, so the main components of a CV are similar to those of a resume. They include your contact information, summary of qualifications, education, and experience. And you can have additional sections such as publications and presentations. Only include references if requested. Note that the education section is near the top of the document, not at the end as it typically is on a resume. So before we break down each of those sections, let's review some general formatting tips. Use a consistent font size, 14 to 18 point font for your name, 11 to 12 point font for content. Use bolding and bullet points, but use these features judiciously and consistently. Do not overuse them. Avoid using underlining in your formatting as well. And then use appropriate margins of about 0.7 to 1 inch. Refrain from using I, me, my, and double check your spelling and grammar. Use spell check and thoroughly review your document line by line before sending it out. So let's check, just double check and see if we have any questions. Okay, no questions yet. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them in, and then I'll pause periodically. Okay, the first section is your header, which includes your contact information. This section should include your name, highest degree credentials earned, mailing address, phone number, and a professional email address. You can also include a link to your LinkedIn profile and our career profile as well. Notice that the name is larger and bolded. And if you're a doctoral student, you may have specific questions about how to list your credentials after your name in the header. Here are two important guidelines. Only list the academic credential that you have earned after your name. Also, you should not use amended forms of a degree such as PhD with a -C or PhD with C in parentheses to indicate partial completion of your program. Nor should you use ABD, all but dissertation. These designations are not accepted credentials, and using them may confuse others, including prospective employers. Also, these amended forms are not recognized by Walden University. For additional rules on listing credentials after your name, visit the Career Services CV Guide and Academic Signature Guidelines. Okay, so next is the summary of qualifications. This section can be bulleted statements, as we see in the example, or a short paragraph of about 3 to 5 sentences. You want to use the summary section to stand out from others by highlighting your professional brand. Summarize your top skills and strengths as they relate to your job target. Focus on specific achievements. If you're planning or applying for a higher ed teaching position, you could include that you're an experienced online learner, familiar with the Blackboard learning platform. It is also important to incorporate keywords used in your field. Some organizations use ATS or applicant tracking systems to filter applications. These systems are programmed to look for keywords on resumes and CVs related to the position. It can be helpful to review job descriptions for your targeted position to see what keywords are being used to describe the desired qualifications, and include these keywords on your CV where there's a match with your experience. So again, feel free to type in any questions that you have as we go. Okay, so now on to the education section. List your degrees in reverse chronological order. Bold your degree titles for emphasis. Place graduation years on the right-hand side to improve formatting, and then include an expected completion date if you are currently pursuing your degree. Include the institution's name, city, and state. If you want to list your dissertation topic in this section, list it only after it has been formally approved by your committee or the chief academic officer. You may want to create a separate research interest section to highlight your research interest areas. You can also include information about your research plans in your cover letter when applying for teaching or research positions. Okay, so we have a question. Do we list minors for bachelor's degrees? Yes, you can. You can absolutely list minors for bachelor's degrees. And I know sometimes Walden students might have 2 master's degrees and they ask, should I list both? Yes, this is your education section, so you want to list all of your major degrees here. And for the bachelor's degree, you can list major, and if you have a minor, absolutely list the minor. So great question. Thank you. So the experience section is typically next. You should list positions in reverse chronological order. Choose a title for this section which relates to the information in it. In this case, teaching experience captures our applicant Stella's higher education and high school teaching experience. She has a separate section for her additional experience to show experience that is not as relevant to her career path. If it doesn't make sense for you to have two separate experience sections, one section labeled experience or professional experience is fine. So for each position, bold your title and include your employer, employer city and state, and dates of employment. Next, you want to develop strong accomplishment statements that start with an action verb. Use past tense when describing past experience. For example, in our sample, Stella uses teach for current experience and taught for past experience. Also provide specific details, focus on achievements, and include results. Quantify when possible. For example, Stella states under her teaching position at West Hill High School that she restructured ninth grade English curriculum and coached teachers on classroom delivery methods. Initiatives helped increase ninth grade standardized test scores by 12%. And remember that if you can include results, you're going to have a stronger document. So let me check and see if we have any questions here. Okay, we have a question actually about the education section. Do people typically leave off high school diploma information and only put advanced degrees? Yes, you don't need to include your high school. Once you have college experience, it's going to be assumed that you have a high school diploma or equivalent. And then how far back can we go in experience in terms of years? Great question. Typically go back 10 to 15 years. That's typically what is expected on the document. Sometimes if you've had a position or maybe you've held the same position for 20 or more years, make sure you include the entire time span. That would be an exception to the 10 or 15 years. You want to include, again, your entire time span of holding a job if it's longer than 15 years. I know some Walden students have had positions for quite a long time before making a change. So let's see if we have any other questions. Okay, not yet. So since your CV is unique to you, you'll want to take an inventory of your experiences and skills to determine what additional sections to include. For example, if you have experience presenting at professional conferences, include a section for professional presentations. Or if you have publications, add a section for publications. If your articles have been published in peer-reviewed journals, list them under the publications section. To list non-peer-reviewed articles, create a section titled Popular Media Publications or Other Publications. You may list your dissertation under the publications section only if it has been published in a peer-reviewed outlet. Indexing a dissertation in ProQuest is not considered peer-reviewed. So when adding additional sections, such as community involvement, be sure to list your role, the organization, and dates if applicable. So, and additional sections you may consider are licenses and certifications, courses taught, honors and awards, affiliations, committees, research, technology skills, and languages. So there's quite a long list. So let's check for questions. Okay, we have a question. Should military service be listed? Yes, if you served in the military, make sure you include that. You could include it in your professional experience section or have a separate section called military service. But yes, absolutely include that. Then have some bullet points about what you did in the military. Sometimes it's helpful to talk about what you did with a civilian and go over that with someone outside the military, because I know the military has its own special language to describe a lot of accomplishments. So you'd want to make sure that it is worded in a way that a civilian would be able to understand what you accomplished in your role in the military. So great question. Another question is, how does teaching experience from 2001 get handled in the experience section? So you could, if that's your only teaching experience and you want to include it, you could put it in the teaching experience section. But if you have more relevant and recent experience, you might want to put your professional experience first and then have your section with your teaching experience next, because it's from a while back. You could make that distinction on whatever you want to showcase. That first is your experience section, or maybe after that you have other relevant professional experience. So you could either, it probably if it's from 2001, you might want to have it after more recent experience. So another question, which relevant coursework can be included? So the last degree of all the degrees is the question. So what I would suggest is courses from your most recent degree or the degree you're working on. Relevant is going to be based on your job target, the position you're looking for. So what would be relevant to that hiring manager or dean when they look at your document? If you're looking at teaching for a community college, they want to make sure that you have completed at least 18 graduate credits in the topic that you're applying to teach in. So you could be clear that you have completed the relevant graduate coursework. Do not include coursework from your bachelor's degree. So any other questions? These are all great questions. So thank you. Okay, let's move on. So finally, only if it is requested by the potential employer and with a reference section of 3 to 5 professional and/or academic references. If you're considering including someone as a reference, be sure to ask for their permission beforehand. Consider reaching out to former or current supervisors and/or professors who know your work. So let me check and see if we have any questions. So a question about LinkedIn. So all these new ones posted on LinkedIn are having double columns and pictures. How do you feel about that? Mine is plain and not sure if I should switch it up to make it stand out on LinkedIn. So a photo is great on LinkedIn. That's what LinkedIn is for. But do not add a photo on your CV for jobs within the United States. Keep it very straightforward. If you're outside the United States, you can look to see what might be typical for the CV. I know in some countries a photo is often added, but if you're applying for a position in the US, do not include a photo on your CV. Do not include different columns as well because of the applicant tracking systems. These systems may have a difficult time reading the different columns or tables or photographs. You want to keep it really simple so the applicant tracking systems can easily read your information. So another question, are references bulleted? They could be. They don't need to be bulleted though. Probably typically not. But have a line space between each reference so the reader knows which information goes with which reference. You want to make sure that when the reader is looking at the information, they know how you know that person. So a bullet can help chunk the information so it's easy for the reader to see each separate reference, but it doesn't have to be. You could just bold the names as well. So any other questions? These are great questions. So if you think of something, make sure you just submit it. All right. So I want to start wrapping up by reviewing some tips. So tailor your document toward your job target. Include a summary section to further highlight your unique brand. Strengthen your accomplishment statements and rearrange sections in order of importance, but keep your education section near the top of the document. So we'll pause again to see if there are any questions. Okay, I think I got most of the questions up to this point, but again, if you think of something, put it in and we'll pause briefly before we wrap up. If you would like to review your CV with a career services advisor, we invite you to schedule an individual career advising appointment. Our most popular advising topics are review of your CV or resume, job search strategies, building your professional network, preparing for an interview, strengthening your professional reputation or brand. You can schedule your 45-minute appointment via your student portal or by visiting the Career Services website. Please note that appointments are scheduled in USA Eastern Time, so please adjust the time of your appointment to your time zone on your personal calendar if needed. The Career Services advisor will call you at the time of your appointment, and then you can upload a document for review during your appointment. So we recommend that you have internet access for your advising session, as we'll often refer you to web-based resources as well. And then we invite you to connect with us by joining the Career Services LinkedIn group, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us on Facebook. Read Walden student success stories on our blog and use the features on the optimal resume system that I mentioned before. And so let me take a quick check and see if we have any other questions. So another question, what if you do not have experience? Do you still have to tailor the document to the job description? Yes, if you don't have experience, what I would suggest is looking at ways to gain experience through volunteering. And I would suggest making a one-on-one appointment with a career advisor. The career advisor can help you look at past positions and determine the transferable skills that perhaps you could highlight. There are ways to get experience through community involvement, to showcase leadership skills, and then again, looking at transferable skills from past experience. If you've been out of the workforce for a long time, you could also think about how you could highlight your academic work, even in a more extensive way than someone else who has more recent professional experience might do. There are ways to get experience while you're in your program, so definitely make a one-on-one appointment with a career advisor. This was a pretty high-level overview of the CV. So again, if you want in-depth feedback about your specific CV or circumstances, or to discuss your goals, be sure to make that one-on-one appointment. So I want to thank everyone for attending today's session. For upcoming live webinars and events, please visit the Career Services website for topics and links to register. They will be listed right on our homepage. And remember that we are here to support you, so take advantage of all of the resources and the one-on-one appointments that the Career Services Center has to offer. Thank you for joining me today for the session.